Former Dokken guitarist George Lynch announced he was done playing shows as Lynch Mob 7 months ago. When asked why he's continued to play shows under that name, after that announcement, George stated bluntly, "I lied," which leads me to wonder, does anybody tell the truth anymore? And does anybody care? My buddy Patrick and I discussed that right after this. Welcome to the Hair Metal Guru, where we give our own thoughts on our topics without having AI write out a script for us. Patrick, thanks for coming on to talk about the happenings with George Lynch and Lynch Mob.
That might be my favorite intro you've ever done.
It gets disappointing to see some of these channels where AI is writing a 10-minute script. But whatever, I mean, shit. But we don't do that. We give you our genuine feelings. So, George Lynch,
Absolutely.
7 months ago, says I'm done as Lynch Mob, and he's still doing Lynch Mob. He's going to put out a new album as Lynch Mob here. And I'll be honest, I listened to the title track. What the fuck was it called? Dancing with the Devil. The title track is out. It's a solid song. What do you think? Does it matter that these people keep going back on their word?
I'm starting to think it doesn't, because I think the people that want to go see Lynch Mob are going to go see Lynch, and they're not even going to see Lynch Mob. They're just going to see George Lynch.
Of course.
Because the truth of the matter is George has even stated that he doesn't even know who's going to be playing some of these gigs until right before the gig, and he has a whole group of people he's pulling from. I know sometimes Brian Tishy's drumming, and sometimes he's got, this guy on bass and that guy. I mean, but the reality of the matter is there's no integrity here. If you say you're retiring, if you say you're not going to do something, if it pays to do it, and we all know that the reason George is doing this is because it pays to be Lynch Mob.
Of course.
It doesn't pay to be, what was he going to call it a little while back? Some stupid name.
Electric Freedom.
Yeah.
And I
know what that is.
I am interviewing tonight Ray West from Spread Eagle. Ray West was the singer of that for 2 shows.
Yeah, it blew up magnificently.
So Lynch has a history of doing this. In August of 2020, after all the George Floyd stuff, he said he didn't think it was right to have the name Lynch Mob because of the historical connotations. He becomes Electric Freedom, and then goes back on that, and then he's going to retire again. So there's a history of him going back on his word. And so what he said in this interview, and it was all over Blabbermouth and Classic Rock, is he announced he was going to be done as Lynch Mob seven months ago, plays the final show. He puts out a big heartfelt post on Instagram. They played their final show at a place I've been to multiple times, the Medina Ballroom and Entertainment Center in Minnesota. And he's like, "Oh, I don't know what we're going to do, blah, 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 blah. Good luck to my bandmates." And then, obviously, since that's the last show, promoters are like, "Wow, look, there's a lot of talk about Lynch Mob." So since these promoters start getting a hold of his booking agent with offers, he's like, "Fuck it." So keeps going. And when somebody says why, he says, "I lied." And he even said, "I have a history of not making smart decisions." So I want to go here now, and then I'll stop and I'll let you interject. There's a prominent person in music media. I won't say their name, but I like a lot of stuff that they've done. But on X, they asked this recently. They said, "What is a cash grab?" And their implication in the post was that when your favorite artist announces a new tour, a new album, or what have you, instead of bitching that it's a cash grab, us fans should just be happy that they're going to do something. Tour, put out a new album. And I see that point of view. Like when
Sure.
Motley Crue did the contract, I mean, you know what? Was there a part where a lot of people, when they backed out of that, said, well, shit, all right, I might get the chance to see Motley Crue again. I get that. But I responded in the post with, I understand your point. But I said, to me, a cash grab is when the artist comes out and says, you know what? I have this thing and it's going to be very rare. And if you dig deep, deep into your pockets, you'll be one of the few to get it. And there's where I'm talking about the last show or the last run of shows as a
Right.
certain name. So dig deep because you're going to get this rare thing. So I do. I fork over all my cash. And then you go, you know what? I was fucking kidding. There's plenty of these. You didn't get anything rare.
Right.
Okay? Everybody's going to get this opportunity. That to me is a cash grab. And that bothers me. I maybe I'm old school. I want your word to mean something. So sure, it's maybe cool that maybe I never got to see Lynch Mob over the last few years. I saw him in 92 open up for Warrant on the ill-fated Dog Eat Dog tour. But maybe I will go see them. But I still feel a little bit bummed that George Lynch lied, and I'll stop and let you interject.
I feel like it lessens the integrity of what you're going to see 110%. It's the same thing, Anthony, that if in 2015 you and I had known each other and been like, oh fuck, we better go see Motley Crue now, or
Yeah,
we're never ever gonna see it again. And we go and we're like, you know what? I'm willing to swallow the fact that it was $300 for these tickets because you know what, Anthony, we're never gonna see it again. And then not even 3, 4 years later, they're out on the road. This is even worse than that, in my opinion, because it's what been like a year since he said he was going to be done with it, and he was going to do maybe 2 years since it was the Electric Freedom shit, and then
yeah,
all summer long he was out there doing shit with Dokken and whatnot, and then now it's like, oh well, I guess I'm going to do Lynch Mob again because nobody's going to pay to go see this Electric Freedom because nobody's even going to know what the fuck it is.
right.
You know, if you looked in your local music zine and saw Electric Freedom featuring George Lynch, you're gonna be like, well, what the fuck is this gonna be? But if you see Lynch Mob, you know you're getting all the hits that you want to hear, plus a bunch of noodling around that George does. So it just lessens the integrity of the project, and it makes me want to see it even less.
Well, and then remember when he was like, "All right, I'm done with Lynch Mob," and then he was gonna call it George Lynch and the Mob. I
Yeah,
mean, that I hate. That's fucking stupid.
your last name is fucking Lynch, and I don't think anybody was sitting around going, at least, and you know, politics aside, I'll admit I'm on the left. I didn't give a fuck, and I'm also not super fucking woke. But
Yeah.
even if I was, I don't. His last name's fucking Lynch.
Yes.
Like it's the whole thing was just ridiculous. But George has never been, as he even admitted in that Blabbermouth article, he doesn't make good decisions. He just needs to be the one to go up on stage and play. So when
Right.
the decisions get left to him, this is the bullshit that happens.
And I get that people get to a point where you get older. I'm 53. So there's gonna come a time where maybe like I can't work anymore. And
Mhm.
I understand where you go, you know what? I need to come up with a way to make sure that I'm financially okay for the rest of my I get that. And maybe if you told me, I don't know, maybe if there's a day where all of a sudden I'm making a shit ton of money on YouTube, I don't know if that'll happen, but let's say it happens. And maybe it's like, okay, you're not going to be able to do this. You better find a way to get people to contribute a lot because you're going to have to end your podcast. I don't know what I'll do in that situation. I hope I don't go out and lie.
No, I
I
would.
hope I don't go, hey, you know what? Here's my last podcast. And maybe I make it a pay per view. I know I'm talking out of my ass right now. I hope I don't do that and get a bunch of people to shell out money and then go, well, shit, guys. thanks a lot for that money, but I've decided that suddenly I'm able to keep going. I think I would feel horrible about doing that,
Yeah,
right?
I would think so too.
So, but you know, is I don't like we just talked about, and I'll be putting that out in a day or two here. We talked about the decline of Western civilization, part two, the metal years,
Hmm.
and how it would not be surprising if many of the people that were in that documentary, not all, but many, might have ended up on hard times after, those years on the strip, after those bands ended. A lot of them looked like they were maybe going to struggle with addiction issues. Most of those bands never did anything. So, you know, I feel for people who are desperate and feel like they need to do something to earn a living. And even bands like Dokken or members of Dokken, like George Lynch, um, even if they made a lot of money in the 80s, it's not like all of these guys are sitting on this, they're millionaires and they, have tons of money. So again, I'm just trying to make the point. I'm trying to understand why these guys have reached the point where it's just okay to lie about it. And maybe that's it. I know you were going to go ahead.
All I was going to say was my only guess is that promoters were not biting on George Lynch and the Freedom or whatever the fuck it was called, or the Electric Freedom. My guess is that people put it out there and no promoters were like, "Man, I'd do Lynch Mob, but I won't do this." And
I
the market dictated it.
of
That's
of
all I
of
can think.
of course, but when you say, "Hey, the lynch mob is done," and what I'm assuming is that you have determined that you have another way of supporting yourself.
Exactly.
You make that announcement going, okay, you know what? I'm done playing music. And maybe, I don't know, maybe you have another backup career. Maybe you're going to be one of those guys, and there's no shame in this, where you're like, hey, I'm going to be okay staying at home, giving guitar lessons. Maybe you get a little bit of social security at George Lynch's age. I'm assuming you plan that out. But just to say, all right, I'm going to retire. I'm going to be done with Lynch Mob, and
I,
then go,
I
oh,
would think
well, I'm surprised that promoters are suddenly coming out with offers, and therefore it makes it okay to go back on my word. Well, that just kind of stinks to me.
my guess would be is that George probably has plenty of money to live off of. He's God knows he's been on a million different records. There's like 20 different Lynch Mob records. He's done Dokken tours and shit like that. So I'm sure he made some good money.
Yeah.
And while I'm sure he probably doesn't have the rights to a lot of the Dokken material where he's getting residuals anymore, I think Don owns all of that now. But I'm sure he's got money and I'm sure he's got a method to earning potential that doesn't have to be this.
Right. Right. So, and like when somebody flashes a wad of bills in your face, it's hard to say no. So I get that. So
Right.
I really want people to go in the comments and maybe you're like, fuck it, just be glad that he's gonna be out there.
Right.
I can see why people think that. Maybe I'm just old school and want people to have this code and have I ever broken my own codes? Probably, but I try to be a man of my word. I try to do what I say I'm going to do. So I really want people to go in the comments and let us know what you think about Lynch Mob, about George Lynch and his, backing out. You can obviously tie that to Motley Crue and Kiss and all of these other bands that have done the same thing. Let us know what you think about it. Patrick, thanks for coming on to talk about, George Lynch is in the news, so we figured we might as well come out and give our thoughts on him not retiring the name when he said he would.
Thanks for having me on. It's always my pleasure to come on and talk about anything. And fans should go check out his '93 solo album, Sacred Groove. It's actually a pretty great record. It's got like the Nelsons are on it and a bunch of other cool people. Ray Gillen. It's cool.
And I mean, we're all fans of George Lynch. He's got a new Lynch Mob album coming out, Dancing with the Devil. So I like the first song, the title track. And so I'm excited about it. But again, we just want you to head in the comments and let us know what you think of the situation. Hey, like, subscribe, what the hell, ring the bell. And hey, whatever you can do to support the channel. Truly, we just appreciate you being here. Until the next video comes out, my name is Anthony. They call me the Guru. Take care of yourselves.